very much. The harvest is plentiful. Do we need this? Okay, all right. The harvest is plentiful, laborers are few. Billions of people still do not have the gospel. And the ones that are out there sharing the gospel are working themselves silly. And the retention rates for missionaries, it continues to decrease. And so 47% of missionaries do not stay on the field after their first term or don't complete their first term. And 70% of those reasons are preventable. Lack of partnership with their churches is top of the list in the majority of studies after 2010. And so we want to help churches not just send their missionaries out with money and prayers, but to join them in the work. And so that is the crux of our organization. That's the crux of the ministry and the teaching that we do. And so myself, my husband, my dad pastored for 40 plus years. He's now on the team with us because he thinks about the strategy and the planning and all the moving pieces it takes to get a church into that position of partnership. And then we actually have another gentleman on the team who was doing it. We saw him doing partnership with his missionaries, and we kindly asked him to help us, help other people. And so now Sean is working with us as well. So today, I want to talk about how do we create a mission strategy in our church that is engaging for everyone, right? It's not just for the missions team or committee or pastors, but it's for all. But most of our churches don't even have a plan for the things that we've been called to do. And so I want us to start with, they might be familiar, but it's always good at looking at some of the commands in the scriptures that we've been given. So I'm going to test your biblical skills even after lunch, right? I feel like you guys can do this, all right? Somebody tell me either word for word or the general idea of Matthew 28:18 through 20. And what is the great commandment? All right, so we've got go make disciples of all nations. Baptizing them, teaching them to obey. Excellent. Okay, what about Mark 16:15? Proclaim the gospel to the whole world. Yeah, we're getting this the same thing, it's the same but different, right? I feel like there should be a t-shirt for this one. How about Luke 24:47? Repentance and forgiveness of sins should be proclaimed to the whole world, beginning in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost. What was Jesus' prayer in John 17? They would be mine, but they would go into the world, right? Send them into the world. And then Acts 1:8. You will be where? Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost. Okay, so I did not study business strategies. I have a degree in cross-cultural studies and theology. But there are some very clear directives of strategy in a couple of these verses that we just read. What is the thing that we are told to do? What did we hear? Go and do what? Where did they tell us to do that? Now, in my simple mind, I go, that's a pretty easy model for us to do. It's a pretty easy model for us to adapt no matter where you are in the world. We just spent about a month in South Africa and Kenya working with local leaders and pastors there. And we said, you don't have to be from the West to be able to identify your Jerusalem, your Judea, your Samaria, and your uttermost. You don't have to be from the West to make disciples of all nations. In fact, you have a greater advantage than I do because of where you're from, how you look, your ability to learn language faster. It's cheaper. You don't have 25 committees that you have to approve you to be able to do this. You can actually just go. So, what's the advantage? Well, let's talk about what a Great Commission church is. So when we work with churches and we talk about creating a Great Commission strategy, we talk about three main elements. Our vision in our ministry is to see every church worldwide have an active Great Commission strategy. Now, when we talk to churches, we hear great mission vision statements, but they don't encompass a Great Commission approach, or they don't encompass a Great Commission strategy, or they're so vague that we go, well, where are you starting? And it's really hard to have a shotgun approach to missions versus a rifle approach to knowing the next step, the next step. So when we talk about a Great Commission church, we're talking about three things. We have a strategy based on Acts 1:8, where it says a clearly defined Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost. The second is if we know that God's called us to those places, we need to get people ready to go to those places. We need to get people ready to respond to that calling, whether it's been clearly laid out for them or it's coming in the future. So we love that Acts 13 model where the church, as a part of their regular service, was praying and fasting. You know, we're only a couple chapters into the church at this point, and they're still trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. And so while they waited, they prayed and fasted. And it says the Holy Spirit set apart from them. Our models nowadays, our missionaries come to tell us where they're going and what they're doing. And we don't always have a proactive approach from our church that says, this is what our church is called to do. These are the people our church is called to reach. And this is where we're going. And so we have what we call a reactive missions model versus a proactive missions model, where it is targeted direction and people groups. And so we have a strategy for missions. We have a care to send, and then we have a plan to send, and a plan for care. So I was telling you that 47% of those missionaries don't stay on the field or don't go back to the field because of lack of care, communication difficulties with the team, right? Not really sure what roles that we play in the team. Brian, help me out. What are some of the other two or three in that top 5 that we typically see? Call, team conflict. Right. So when we talk about connecting with your missionaries, a lot of these things can be prevented just in the way that we connect and care. So when most people that come to our churches think about missions, they're thinking church planting in places that don't have electricity or running water, and they're never going to see their families again, right? But when we try to break it down on some of the smaller areas, we say, well, you're a businessman, right? You have some good business strategies that actually could help my team leader if you can help him with some leadership roles. Or if you're a stay-at-home mom and you've done homeschool, you can use some of your research of homeschool resources to keep those teams healthy and thriving so that they can stay on the field and they don't have to go to a bigger city to get the resources. They can stay in those areas. Or if you've had experience in biblical counseling and you just make a phone call once or twice a week to just lend an ear, you're helping that team stay healthy. You're giving that pastor, that leader, that team member an opportunity to connect with you. And so we do a lot of preventative. We say the pink flags, we're preventing those pink flags from turning to red flags. And we're keeping people on the field when we have intentional care and connection. This word has become so popular in churches lately, and I can see where it's coming from, but I don't really love it. This organic model of missions. When you throw things out organically, you don't know what's going to return. Care, connection, strategy, those are all things that take time, take intentionality, right? And we see in Genesis, our God is a very strategic God. We see his plan as very step by step of how he laid out creation, how he developed the world. And so we want to take that same model, we want to take that same approach to be intentional. Tuesday afternoons from 2 to 4, that's our time for our partnership development, right? We have to make it a calendar item Else it's not going to happen. My day is going to get too busy. I'm going to get phone calls that are going to interrupt it. I'm going to have a meeting that's more shinier than me making phone calls to say thank you and to work on relationships, right? And so we have to make these priorities in our calendars, our budgets, for those of you who are managing budgets and people, and we have to do them habitually on a regular basis in order for us to have intentional strategic models for missions. Now, when you are a Great Commission church and you have these elements in place, it's going to give you some freedom, right? We try to help pastors see we are not trying to add to your plate. We're actually trying to take away from your plate because we're giving to other people in the church. So you have some boundaries in place now that you've got a clearly defined mission vision based on a JJSU model with other people in the church that are helping you manage it, so to speak, right? So when someone knocks on your door that has a great mission and a great ministry opportunity, you now have something to measure it by. And you say, we do love your ministry. We do appreciate that you're trying to reach this people group, but where we're going and where God has called us doesn't line up. And so you don't have to be the bad guy per se of saying no. You're just able to hold up your clear missions plan and say, this is where God's called us to. This is where we're supposed to focus and we're supposed to go. And also, like our church planter friend was saying, of finding engaging places. Now you have engaging places where you know you can plug people in because you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, and you know the needs because you're not waiting for a newsletter from the missionary to come tell you what's happening. You're walking with them side by side in the projects, in the vision planning, the strategy, the day-to-day connections with them. Now, when Brian teaches this session, he uses a great example of a military scout. And so when we talk about a military scout and we're in a war situation, we're sending that scout into the battle with a small group. They're doing the recon work. They're checking out what the enemy has. They're checking out the lay of the land. They're going to see what it takes, right? We're thinking Joshua, Caleb, the 12 spies that went in, okay? They're doing this not so that these small team of people can do the work, but what did they do? They come back out. They tell the military, the rest of the forces that are with them, what is it going to take for us to reach this people, to conquer this land? And so we look at missionaries the same way. They are not the end of the line, the only ones fighting the battle. They're the starting point so that your church can now do missions through them. Tom Julian's the wonderful author of a book called Antioch Revisited. And he makes this wonderful quote. If you're a tattoo person, this should be your next tattoo. It says, missions is not what the church does for the missionary, but it's what the church does through the missionary. So this partner model is saying, now that your missionary is there, what else can we do? Because your churches are filled with those business people, the doctors, the moms, the dads, whoever it is, the accountants. We don't want to leave out the accountants. Those are very important people that know how to do things I don't know how to do. But we can invite them in to do ministry with us. And it's no longer just the church and the missionary on opposite ends of the world, but it is the church that is now joining, and the missionary has opened the door to those places in Malawi, opened the door to the places in Turkey so that we can join them. We can help them and move them forward. Let's look at Acts 1:8 again. Let's talk about how do we actually create a model based on Acts 1:8. What do we know about Jerusalem? All right, back to the testing your knowledge. What do we know about Jerusalem in biblical times at this time that the scripture was written? Yeah, it was central. Life kind of started in that area. Lots of business, people would come in there. So it's central to where you are. We don't live in a one-dimensional world anymore. We are filled, this room is filled with people from all over the world. So now we travel, all right? So our model for Jerusalem, or Acts 1:8, is no longer just geographical, but also we can have a demographic model of missions based on Acts 1:8 as well. So we want to say Jerusalem it could be your church. It could be your immediate community. We typically say people like you, people that you don't have to work so hard to have relationships with because maybe you think similar, you believe similar, you eat similar. So if you're friends with Carl, you're going to eat a lot of Ukrainian food, right? Okay. So Jerusalem, center where things happen. What about Judea? Where was Judea at this time?
Further out, beyond.
Yeah, a little bit further away, but a lot of the same people. They had a lot of the same cultural aspects. They'd lived a similar lifestyle, more than likely had similar beliefs and cultural foundations. So we can expand our Jerusalem to maybe a borough, maybe the region of the state, same people, different parts of the world. Samaria. What do we know about Samaria? This one's easy. Everybody always knows, what do we know about Samaria? Yeah, not like us. I was just in Kenya asking them to describe people that are in their community that other people don't like. For this one, they had some Muslim people. They said Muslim, and there was a guy in the group. He goes, "I love Muslims. I work with Muslims." He would come to find out he was a Muslim chaplain in the local prison who just happened to hear about our workshop and come. And I'm like, somebody needs to talk to this guy about Jesus. But who are the people in your community that other people don't like? Is it homeless, LGBTQ, different people groups, refugees that have maybe come into your area? I want to hear, who are the people in your area people don't like? Thank you, Carl. Who else? That is a great ministry opportunity, an ongoing, never-ending, you have job security there, all right? What are the other people in your communities that people don't like or don't have the time for? Black people? Yeah? Pickleball players.
I'm a tennis player.
All right, pickleball players. I haven't heard that one yet. Okay. All right. So you can have your ministry developed around those people that are not like you, whether they're right there in your immediate community or larger demographics around the world. And then our uttermost, that's pretty much the easiest one for us to define. I find that most churches, when they think uttermost, they just put the rest of the world in that category. And we don't think about the unreached people groups that don't have a specific strategy for them. We have about 300,000 evangelical churches in North America. 1% of them have sent out missionaries in the last 10 years. So that gives us a 1 to, I think it's 100,000 people ratio. 3%, JR, I might be wrong. I might be wrong on this number, but it's about 3% of those that are sent to unreached people groups. The majority of resources are sent to areas that already have what's considered a established gospel. I'm getting a lower number. I'm getting a 1%. Yeah. So 3 is a good number, right? Compared to that. So we're not saying don't send to places that already have the gospel. We're saying you need to also consider the unreached as you're building your mission strategy. We were just able to work with a church. They sent this week, I can't say where, but this church, the age of the people in their group was 60 plus. So nobody in this group was really going to establish a pioneer work in an unreached people group. They brought a family in, built a relationship with them. Then after a couple years, they sent them this week. They brought them in to be a part of their family first, develop the relationship with them, and then sent them out because they're looking at them like staff members. This is a great key model for your partnership aspect to missions. Staff member, right? How many of you work? Do you have staff meetings? They might be horrible, but you have them, right? How often do you have staff meetings? Weekly. Yeah, how often do you have like evaluations or your stand-up meetings? Quarterly, annually, right? How often are you going to conferences or continuing education, getting resources about your job? A couple times a year maybe, right? Don't forget to do this same thing with your missionaries. Make them your church. The only one I know is Cornerstone, right? Okay, Cornerstone. Make them Cornerstone Turkey. Make them Cornerstone Uzbekistan. Cornerstone, keep them on your staff. Keep them on your staff. Communicate them as a staff member. Communicate with them as a part of your team, helping you establish the vision of your church. Because if we do it as Acts 13, it is not the missionary coming to tell us what they're doing, but it is us as the church with an intentional strategy that says we will make disciples of Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost. So that Great Commission model, 3 points. You have a strategy based on Acts 1:8. You have a plan to send based on Matthew 28. We will make disciples of go to all nations. And then Galatians 2, we will care for them. We will bear the burden with them because they're part of us. Now, I'm from the South, so we say we've shared sweet tea and fried chicken, but maybe it's pierogies and chai lattes. I don't know what you do here in New York that you would say that. But these are people that you sat beside. These are people that you worshiped with. Don't let that out of sight, out of mind get in the way, because we don't want them to be one of those statistics that didn't go back. It could have been prevented with a phone call, a connection point, right? We expect missionaries to send us newsletters. When was the last time you sent a newsletter to your missionary about what's going on in your church? I had this wonderful $1 million idea. You know those digital picture frames that you can just download the app and send pictures of your grandkids and your dogs or whatever you do, right? What if you gave, the next time your missionaries came, you gave them one of those, and your social media person had access to that picture frame, and you sent them pictures of what was going on in your church so that they got to meet the new members. They got to meet the new parents. They got to meet the people who get baptized, right? And so when they come home, they know who you are. You guys make that popular. You got to do that. All right, so we want strategies that are intentional. We want strategies that are strategic. And then the last one, you need a team that's going to help you make it happen, right? This is not meant for you to do on your own. But when we have a model of partnership, we're constantly inviting people in. That +1, right? You get the wedding invitation, you have a +1 option. We want a +1 missions in our churches. We want to be the ones that see the vision, see the need, but I say, I know you're the person that actually is to make it happen. So our team of people is reaching into our churches to identify those who are effective. We don't want to say never take the random 10 people on a missions trip, but be more intentional instead of taking just 10 random people where you're trying to find out what to do when you go to those places, but to identify what the need is, because you're a partner moving that strategy forward, and you want to find the right people that are going to help you move that forward. So it's strategic, even down to the missions teams that you put together. And I have 50 seconds. Okay. And so with those mission teams, right, those are the people that are helping you build the habits. Those are the people that are helping you live it out day by day. So the mission team is really central to mobilizing. And you can actually have a team for every mission partner in your church. This is how you make missions church-wide. So every missionary you have has 5 or 6 people that have a specific role to engage the church and move the mission forward. That's another conversation for maybe next year, building your mission teams. But we want you guys to be proactive to making disciples of all nations. We want you to be intentional to engage the Jerusalem, the Judea, the Samaria, and the uttermost simultaneously with the same impact that you put on your local as you do on your global. This is what we do. This is what we love. If we can serve your church to establish a clear missions plan, or maybe help you kind of fine-tune it a little bit, or talk about mission teams, that's what we love. If you're pastor, missions leader at your church, again, the paper is like if you would like an assessment of your mission strategy. If you just like more information on those mission teams that I'd mentioned, you can just fill out the small card, and we'll email it to you, and you can have that as well, since we didn't get a lot of time on that today. Thank you.
Could you mention your website?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Our ministry is called Here to There, Here, the number 2, there, THERE. And we have some resources up here as well, heretothere.org. And we just brought on a social media person, and they told us we have to have TikTok, so we even have TikTok. All right? You will not see me flossing or anything like that on there. But there are people other than me on that account who know how to do cool things. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be around all day, so questions or comments, thank you. Who handed me this?